Squirrel works hard. Squirrel gathers nuts all day. Squirrel buries nuts. Squirrel finds nuts. Squirrel eats nuts. Life is good, but squirrel is tired. Squirrel's paws ache. Squirrel dreams of more nuts, but less work. What if squirrel could make nuts without always working for them? This, my fellow furry friends, is passive income. Active income versus passive income. When squirrel gathers nuts directly from a tree, that's active income. You put in the effort, you get the nuts. Simple. But imagine squirrel has a magic nut growing machine. Or maybe squirrel has a particularly rich nut tree that other squirrels pay to harvest from. Nuts just keep coming in, even when squirrel is napping, or grooming, or chasing that fluffy tail. That's passive income. How to make your nuts work for you. It takes some initial effort, just like burying a nut, but once it's set up, it keeps growing. The Nut Tree Farm, rental property. Squirrel has saved up many nuts. Instead of eating them all, squirrel buys a small piece of land and plants a special, super nutty oak tree. Other squirrels need nuts but don't have their own trees. So, squirrel lets other squirrels gather nuts from their tree, but they have to pay squirrel a small pile of nuts every month. Squirrel collects these nuts without climbing the tree itself. This is like being a landlord squirrel. The nut investment, dividends, interest. Squirrel has extra nuts. Instead of just burying them, squirrel gives them to another. Very smart squirrel who runs a big nut processing business. This smart squirrel uses all the nuts to make yummy nut butter, which makes even more nuts. Since squirrel helped the business, the smart squirrel gives squirrel a tiny share of the nut butter profits every season, without squirrel lifting a paw. This is like getting dividends from a nut business or interest from a large nut bank. Your nuts are making more nuts. The nut cracking machine blueprint, digital product royalties. Squirrel is very clever and invents a super fast nut cracking machine. Squirrel doesn't want to spend all day cracking nuts, so squirrel draws up detailed blueprints for the machine. Other squirrels want the machine, so they buy copies of the blueprint from squirrel. Every time a squirrel buys a blueprint, nuts come to squirrel even when squirrel is asleep. This is like selling a digital product or earning royalties. The community nut stash, peer-to-peer lending. Sometimes young squirrels need nuts to start their own tiny nut gathering venture. Squirrel has some extra nuts and lends them to these young squirrels with an agreement that they will pay squirrel back more nuts over time for the favor. Squirrel helps other squirrels and gets more nuts in return without active gathering. This is like peer-to-peer nut lending. Why passive income is good for squirrel. More napping time. Squirrel can relax more knowing nuts are still coming in. Less stress. If one nut source dries up, squirrel has others. Faster nut accumulation. Nuts make more nuts. And before you know it, squirrel has a giant overflowing hoard. Important squirrel wisdom. Initial work is still work. Planting the tree, saving the first nuts, creating the blueprint, these still require effort. Passive doesn't mean no work ever. Risk exists. The nut tree might get sick. The nut business might fail. Other squirrels might not buy your blueprints. Diversify your nut streams. Don't put all your nuts in one hollow tree. So while active nut gathering is important for survival, smart squirrels also learn how to make their nuts work for them. Creating a stream of nuts that keeps flowing, even when the squirrel is busy doing, well, whatever squirrels do when they're not gathering nuts. Probably more napping. Please subscribe for more nutconomics.